Hello, this is our 11 a.m. class, and this is our third class period, and it is for July 10th. What we did today is we started with some solving equations. You've all done this, so copy down the problems, push pause, and go to it. Okay, let's take a look at these problems. Now, I'm going to start with this one. It looks a little bit different. Okay? First of all, you should have noticed the distributive property. Okay, so we are going to distribute, but we have distributive on both sides. Okay, so you should remember this means 2 times the r, keep the sign, and then 2 times the 4, which is 8. Okay, and then we still have our equals. The next one is 5 times the r, which is 5r. Keep your sign. And then 5 times the 7, which is 35. Okay, so we're back to just a regular problem. Now, we have a slight issue. We have r's, which we're solving for on both sides of the equation. So what we've got to do is get all the r's to one side, okay, and all the numbers to the other. Now, there are many different ways you could do this. They are all correct. So as long as you follow the correct procedures, it's fine, okay? I'm going to choose to move the 2r over here to the 5r. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I'm going to add the opposite, which is a minus 2r. Now, you can see if I had moved the 5r to this side, I would now have a negative r. Most of us are not real great with negatives, so I try to avoid the negatives as much as I can. So that leaves me with negative 8 equals 3r minus 35. Okay. Now, this is exactly what we've been doing. The other class has done this too. It's just on the other side of the equals instead of this side. No big deal. Okay. We're going to move those aunts and uncles first, the things that are not attached. So we're going to move the negative 35 to the other side, and to do that we add the opposite. Okay. Those cancel out, leaving us with 3r equals. Now this is 35 minus 8. So let's see here, that's 27, I believe, right? Because 35 take away your 8. Right? Now we're left with 3 times r, so we do the opposite of 3 times r, which is divide. So we're going to divide both sides by the 3. Okay? That way the 3's cancel out, we're left with r equals 27 divided by 3, which is 9. Okay, and that's our answer. And you will get that answer no matter which one you move first, as long as you follow the correct steps. But you will get this answer every single time. Okay? All right, so this next one looks a little bit easier. You can see, again, we have the distributive property. So we're going to distribute that 3 to both pieces. So 3 times 3c, 3 times 3 is 9c. Keep this on. Then we have 3 times the 4, which is 12. Greater than or equal to 15. Okay. Now this is just like this area here. Okay, we want to solve for the c. We're going to move that negative 12 to the other side by doing the opposite. The opposite of a minus 12 is a plus 12. Okay, those cancel out. We're left with 9c is greater than or equal to 27. This says 9 times c, so we want to do the opposite. So we're going to divide both sides by that 9. The 9's cancel out, and we're left with c. 27 divided by 9 is 3, greater than or equal. Okay. And we're going to do a number line. Our number line is C. Whenever you're doing the number line, you want to show the 0. And I like for you to show, so we need 3, but I'd like the negative to be also shown so that I know that you know where the numbers go on the number line. This says C could equal 3. Because it can equal 3, I have to color in my dot. I'm using a solid dot because it could equal that part. Now, C is bigger than 3. This side is the smaller side, the negative side. But this side is the bigger side. So I'm going to color to this side. Okay. And then there is that problem. So we've done quite a lot of those. We're now getting into the ones that mix and match many of the different steps we've done. So just make sure that you pay attention to that. All right, the next thing we're going to look at is, so we did some graphing here, but what happens when we have the X and the Y? So we're going to do some more graphing. And we're going to look at 6x plus 8y equals 16. Okay? So we want to do this by slope-intercept form. That is all of Algebra 1 is slope-intercept. Okay? If you remember, and we've mentioned this pretty much every week, slope-intercept means we are solving for the y. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, so we're looking for this form y equals mx plus b. Okay, and that's known as slope-intercept. Okay, so we're going to solve for y. It means everything else has to go to the other side. Imagine this was just a 6. How would we move a 6 to the other side? Well, we would add the opposite. This is a 6x, it's positive, so the opposite of a positive 6x is a negative 6x, or a minus 6x. So we're going to subtract 6x from both sides. Now, are these like terms? No, they're not. We have 16 people minus 6 x-ray fish. They are not alike at all. So we need to keep those separate. So we have 8y equals. Now, I know in my form I want the x term first, so I'm going to go ahead and move it first. So negative 6x plus 16. All right. Now, I still want to solve for y, which means we have to break apart the 8y. That says 8 times y, so the opposite is divide both sides by 8. Now, I like to show it under each piece so that I don't forget to divide something by that 8. These 8's cancel out, leaving me with y equals, okay, negative 6/8. But you should be at the point where you can reduce that fraction. There's a 2 in both of these numbers. So negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. So negative 6/8 is really negative 3/4 simplified. And the x. But I'm just going to put it beside. I'm going to move it over so that we can use it a little bit easier. Plus 16 divided by 8 is 2. We now have y equals mx plus b. Mx plus b. That means our m is negative 3/4 and our b is 2. Okay? The m is our slope, and slope means rise over run. Okay, so how do we get this on our graph? So here's our x-axis and our y-axis. This is our B is our y-intercept. It is the point where 0, 2. Okay, 0 in the x direction and 2 in the y direction. Okay. If we were to put this in our table, okay, and we use x is 0, that means -3/4 times 0, which we know is 0, plus 2 gives us the answer of 2. So whether you have just seen this as your y-intercept, or whether you've put it in the table, either way you will get your x is 0 and your y is 2. That is your y-intercept where it crosses the y-axis. All right, from there, we use our slope. Our slope says we're going to rise -3. So from our B, we are going to rise -3. So down 1, 2, 3. And we're going to run +4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So right about there. Okay? 2 points do make a line. I like to make one more point just in case. So from this point, I'm also going to run -3, or rise -3, and run 1, 2, 3, 4. So right about there. Okay? And then we are going to connect those points. It does equal those, so we're going to go ahead and do a solid line with arrows because it is a line and it keeps going. Now, what if you were doing the table? Well, let's see here. This is the point 4, -1. Let's put in 4 for our x and see what happens. So -3/4 times 4. So -3/4 times 4. Well, those would cancel out, leaving us with -3. -3 plus 2 leaves us with a -1, and that is exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, -1. That's exactly what we got. So whether you've put it in the table or whether you've used sloped intercept, you will get the same answer. Now, a negative slope. Negative, does that make sense to be kind of going down the hill? And yes, because negative usually means going down or getting smaller. So this is going down the hill, which is a negative slope. Okay? Now, notice, that is when this is y equals. What if we have an inequality instead? Okay, so let's take a look at a problem with an inequality. Let's use this problem. 5x plus 5y is less than 15. Now, again, slope-intercept, which means we're going to solve for y. Okay, so that's the first thing you're going to do. So if you're comfortable, push pause and go ahead and do this, and come back and check. Okay, so we are going to solve for y, which means we need to move this term to the other side. Okay, right now it is a positive 5x, so the opposite is a minus 5x to both sides. The 5x's cancel out. You're left with 5y is less than, okay, these are not like terms, they are different. So we're going to put them separate, and because I know I want the form y equals mx plus b, I'm going to put the x term first. So negative 5x plus 15. Okay? Now, I still want to get y alone, so I have to separate the 5 times y, which means I'm going to divide both sides by 5. But again, I'm going to put it under each piece so that I don't forget any of them. All right, that leaves me with y is less than negative 5 divided by 5 is 1, and it's still negative because nothing happened to the negative x. You could also write this just negative x. It means the same thing. Plus 15 divided by 5 is 3. It is now of the form mx plus d, which means our m is whatever's in front of the x, negative 1, and our b value is 3. Okay, and we want to get in the habit of graphing using the slope-intercept. So yes, you can do the table, but we want to try and use slope-intercept. All right, so the first point we put on our graph is our B, our y-intercept. Our y-intercept is 3. That means it's going to intersect the y-axis at 3, okay? That means the point, the coordinate point is 0 in the x direction and 3 in the y direction. So if you were to put in 0 in your table, you would get this. All right, the next thing is our slope. Our slope means rise over run. So I want this to be a fraction, so I'm just going to stick the 1 under it, just so that I have a number in both. We know that 1 divided by 1 is still 1, so I didn't change my number. Okay, so from this point, I'm going to rise negative 1, which is down, and I'm going to run positive 1, which is over 1. My next point, again, I'm going to rise negative 1 and run positive 1. One more just for the road, rise negative 1, run positive 1, and it puts me right back on there. Okay? Now, does my y actually equal that line? And no, it does not equal. It is less than that. So what that means is we are going to actually not have a solid line, but a dashed line, because it's not actually equal at those points. Okay? It will still have the arrows, okay, because it is a line. This is just like our inequalities. If we had an inequality that said y is less than 3, our number line would be, okay, it doesn't equal 3, so instead we would have used the open circle because it doesn't actually equal, which corresponds to the dashed line. Y is smaller than 3, this is the smaller side, so now we have to color in. So now we are going to color this graph in. But where do we color? So let's see. Do you see how my line does not pass through the 0, 0 point? As long as it doesn't pass through the 0, 0 point, the origin, you may use 0, 0. If it does, you've got to pick another number. Okay? So this problem says y is less than negative 1x plus 3. And what we're going to do is we're going to put in 0 for our y and 0 for our x, and see if this is true. So 0 is less than negative 1 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 3 is 3. Is 0 less than 3? And yes, that is true. Because it's true, we are going to color towards the true spot, towards our 0, 0. If it was false, we would have done the other side. What this says is anything under this line is actually an answer to this problem. So moving away from solving equations and graphing, because there is other things that happen in algebra, we are going to take a look at some FOIL. We've done this for a few weeks now, so this should just be review. If you've missed a few classes, please make sure you watch the videos because we've done many problems now, and my expectation is when you come into class, you've watched those and you just need a little bit more practice, not drilling again, okay? So, we are going to look at this problem. 4y minus 1 times the quantity y plus 2. Okay? Now, we have talked about that you use FOIL whenever you are multiplying two binomials. Okay, so this is when you multiply binomials. Okay, bi means two. See, there's 1, 2, 1, 2, two pieces, so those are binomials. Okay, so when you multiply binomials, you get to use this algorithm, FOIL. Okay, and what does it mean? It means first, so the first term in each set of parentheses. So 4y times y. Okay? That would actually simplify to 4y squared. Okay. O stands for outer. That would be your outer term. So 4y times 2. Okay. 4 times 2 is 8, so that would give us 8y. I stands for inner. That is the inside terms. Okay, so -1 times y, which would actually give us a negative either 1y or -y, depending how you want to write that. And then L stands for last. Oops, I already used that color. Let me find a different color. Hold on here. Wait, use blue. Here we go. Okay, so last. That means the last ones of both sets of parentheses. That is -1 times 2, which gives us a -2. Okay, but we are not done the problem yet. Now we have to add these all together. 4y squared. I don't see any other y squared term, so this is good. We get to leave that. Next is y, 8y, and I see another y down here. So 8y minus 1y gives me 7y. And then I have a -2. And that would be my answer. Now, over here, you notice we just had an x. It was one line, just a straight line. Okay, so y equals mx plus b gave us just a straight line. And we've talked about this and we diagrammed these, I believe, last week, or the last time we met. This one has two y's. So this is actually going to give you something like this. This is ax squared plus bx plus c. It is a parabola. If it's positive, it's going to face up. If it's negative, it's going to face down. You have this in Algebra 1, but it's mainly Algebra 2. Okay, but you do get into it. All right. And that is all for this week. We had some more problems, but We need a little bit more work on some of these things, so we will touch on those other topics I have ready for next week, okay? So make sure you watch the video, try the problems. You have another worksheet. You should be able to do most of this. Some of it you might not know, and that's okay, no big deal. So bring that next time. So I think now we've had a total of 4 worksheets that you should have turned in. Also, some of you did not do this one yet, so make sure you try this. Complete it and bring it in. It is what we've really been working on. So this worksheet here, you should know how to do all of these, and if not, watch the videos and then you should be able to do these, okay? So this is ones that you should know how to do, okay? And that is all. Thanks for joining me. I will see you next Wednesday, the 17th, and have a great week.